So I've really been looking forward to showing you this new release that we're about to put on your staging servers tomorrow, Wednesday, and then to release to production systems during the end of June and July, according to the information which has been sent out. I'm really excited about this new release. It contains a lot of features, some of which were developed together with you, or actually most of which were developed together with you during the user group meetings, during our conversations, during workshops, and feedback and general support. So let me show you some of these new features. One of the new features that I'd like to start by introducing you to is the ability to add tag groups and to customize your tags menu. Let me show you how that works. Basically, you find it in the ASIMUT menu under Personalize Menus, where we've also moved the locations and persons customization. So if I'm now on the locations, and you can see I can drag and drop various location groups. I can change the order of the location groups in my menu. The same thing I can do, of course, with the person groups. But then the new feature is the tag groups that I can actually define right here. So in the tags menu, it currently looks exactly like what you're used to seeing. You used to have to enter the tags manually one at a time, but now I can actually define tag groups. So I click on Add Tag Group, and I create one called Music, and then I can add my tags: Bachelor of Music Year 1, Bachelor of Music Year 2, Bachelor of Music Year 3, and maybe I'll add some Master Music, and then I can add another group called Drama. I can add my different drama tags, Master of Drama and Master of Drama, and then I can save. I could keep adding more groups. I can just add a quick one, Dance, DA, Dance. I'm not going to add all the tags. I'll just show you. You can actually move around the groups, of course, in whichever order you like to put them in, and you can even move the individual tags inside the group by dragging and dropping. So I'll just save this. Actually, let me just move that one back because now I messed up the order. Let me save this. And then when I go out to my overview, instead of having to select the tags by entering them one at a time, I can now just pick my music tag group, and you can see my tags appears now in the overview, and all the events that are tagged with the various tags will appear on the overviews. And that works, of course, also for the agendas. If I pick my tags agenda, then I will see the agenda for all the events tagged with the music, and I can go change that to all the events tagged with the drama tags, and so on. The next feature I'd like to show you is a feature which is all about customization of the visual appearance of categories. So let me show you. If I go to Edit Categories, I used to have a nice color picker here. This has now been changed. I actually still have a nice color picker which appears when I click inside the color field. And this one is even nicer because it's got the transparency option. So now I can actually not only select the color that I like, but I can also select how transparent would I like to make it. So especially in conjunction with the overbookable categories, this might come in handy. I can also select the text color, which is set to automatic. That's the system deciding which of either black or white would be the more contrasting color. But if I decide that the selection automatically made by the system doesn't suit me, I can now override that selection by selecting black or white, and then the text on the chart labels on the little colored spaces that appear on the overviews will be in that color. I can also add or select a border, and I think you can see actually if you look at this square, you can remove that. Will also remove the border from the events as they appear on the overview. Let me just save this. The next feature I'd like to show you is one of the biggest new features in the new release, and that is the real-time person clash checking. So it used to be that when you selected location while creating events or scheduling, you'd be able to see on the drop-down which locations were available, and also once you'd selected location, change the time, the system would warn you in real time if that location was not available during the selected time slot. We've now extended this feature. This is of course still true, but we've extended it to also work for persons. So that means you get real-time clash checking feedback when adding people to events. So let me show you that. So I've got a group of persons here in the system, and I can now try and schedule an event. You can see basically of these 3 people, they are already, we can look on the graphical overview and see that 2 of them are booked from 10 o'clock and 1 of them is actually on leave. So if I try to create my event right now, I can type in test, and you can see just the same way as this little status icon appears for the location, which is currently free. I can see I get the little triangle with an exclamation mark showing me that in the person group acting bachelors, not all the participants are available for the selected time slot. So this is just for the group. So if I want to go down on the individual level, I can use this other new feature that we added, this participant list tools, where we have a feature called expand person group, which will then list the persons in the group. And you can see that actually 2 of them are available during the time slot and the 3rd one is not. If I extend this to 11 o'clock, then you'll see that none of them are available, consistent with what we saw on the overview. So let's go back to 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, yeah. So now you can see we still got Nisa who's not available. So if I click on save, I'll of course get my normal clash checking showing me what the problem with Nisa is. So I can remove Nisa. And not only do I get this real-time clash information, but also when I start searching for another Nisa to put instead, then actually it will show me which of the Nisas in the system are available and which are unavailable. So I can pick Nisa Kumar because she's available, whereas Nisa Eriksson isn't. But now I've got 3 people that are available. So now I can save my event without clashes. This real-time clash checking also kicks in if I'm using the event wizard to plan individual participants for events. So if I go in here and I pick my conductor's green room and I'm going to have a series of auditions, then I can use my wizard here, type in auditions, can use my events wizard here to pick my students. I'll just get a professor here. Let's find one that's available, Theo Wilkerson. And now I can add my students. Nisa Eriksson is not available, consistent with what we saw before, but I've got a bunch of other Nisas that I can pick. So this gives me the ability to populate my event with people that are actually available during the time that I put them for the event. So now I've got a series of events with the same professor and different students, and I avoided clashes by being able to see that straight away. The real-time clash checking also works in various other places in the system, like if I'm bulk updating events in agendas, etc. So it's basically implemented all over the system. The next feature I'd like to show you is a feature that was actually invented during the last user group meeting in Glasgow. Some of you came up with the idea and we discussed it with other people and found that there was a broad consensus that this would be a really useful thing. So now we've implemented it. It's all about being able to quickly view availability of the participants of any event. So let me show you how that works. So now I've got an event here with a bunch of participants. If I want to see where I can move this event or what is going on with these participants, I can now go directly into the event. I can use the little participant list tools to set the participants as ad hoc group. So basically what that does is it repopulates my ad hoc group and it selects it so that when I click back on my overview now, I'll be able to see the participants of the event's agendas. So now I can actually look at this event and I can also see where are they available. Can I push them half an hour? And it turns out I actually can. So now I've just saved that. The next feature I'd like to show you is about dragging and dropping events that are part of an arrangement. This is actually something that is a step 2 of the drag and drop functionality. So now if I go into this event here, I could actually just do the same thing one more time, set the participants, go out on my overview, and now I can see where is this event. But now I want to drag and drop this event, which is music history. It used to be that when I dragged and dropped an event, I would only change the one event. But now when I drag this one and drop it, for instance here at 8 o'clock, the system will check if there are other events in the same arrangement that have the same time and weekday. And then it will ask me, would you like to also move the other events? So by default, it's checked this one, include 8 other events. And I can now select to move all 9 events, or I can deselect this box and move only the event that I actually dragged and dropped. But this is going to be a great feature for those of you who are sort of planning recurring events for the next term and that they all have a regular recurrence. Then you can drag and drop the entire arrangement between days and times much easier than what you used to be able to do. The next feature I'd like to introduce is a feature that's been widely requested by a lot of our users who's been suffering from the slowness of booking in locations individually. And that's why we've come up with a feature that allows you to book multiple locations in one go. Let me just show you how that works. I'm actually going to jump a little bit into the future. I'm actually going to jump all the way to 2021 because then I've got a fairly empty overview and I can book a lot of locations. So if I wanted to book all the locations in this location group that's selected right now, the performance spaces, I can click and then I can select I'm going to block performance spaces. Then I can select the wizards and then I can select multiple locations. So I can block from 8 to 10 and I can select my person group performance spaces. And then I can save and this will then book all the performance spaces in one go for that time span. So if I go back to my overview, I can see that they're all block booked. So that was a little bit easier than going one by one, adding each space one at a time. The next feature I'd like to show you is useful when you're planning individual events with individual users. So it used to be that when you click the overview down here, it would still add the entire person group. So right now I can actually click on one person here and it will not add the entire person group, it will just add that one person. So that's already something, but it goes further than that. If I select another person group, if I select the acting department 1, then I can actually go in, I can select my professor and one of my students, 2 of my students, and then I can create a booking. So it will select those that I added the little check mark to and also the one where I click to create the booking. So let me actually add these 3 people and then let me select the room in the same go. So now I want to add all those 4 people in the concert hall for a booking. So you can see now I've got those 4 people and I can make my booking here. So that's also hopefully going to save you some time. The next feature I'd like to show you is the improved data exports. So we have had CSV exports, both custom and global CSV exports for a while, but now we've improved these so that you can actually extract as much data as you want without risk of stalling the system. And you can also, you also have more options what to export. So if I go into data exports, you'll see that there are some available core data exports, much more than used to be. And then there's available legacy data exports, where you will also find the custom data exports that we've made for you in case you have custom data exports in your system. But if I click here, events as CSV for specified time period, then I get various options here. You can see there's a little explanation also. We know that it's been causing some of you issues opening the CSV files in Excel, so we included a little description of exactly how to do that. We also improved the character set export so that you shouldn't have issues with character sets. And I can now select a time period here. And I can select the same data export as we used to with the count of participants, which will give you the count of participants in each role. But I can also actually list the participants, which will give you a comma-separated list of the usernames of the participants. I can also select or deselect, include, deleted. If you're working with workspaces, there's also an option for workspaces, but that will only appear if I have selected workspaces. Let me just select download here, and you can see then it will open up. I've got mine set up to open up in LibreOffice by default because that works the easiest and it's a free download, but it also works just fine with Excel as long as you follow the instructions on the page. But now you can see that I've got my data export here. We've also got a persons as CSV and locations as CSV, location groups and person groups, and of course the old core ASIMUT data as a zip archived of XML files. So all of that you can find here under new data exports. So these were the features that I wanted to show you now. In addition to these features, we've also added lots of other stuff, but mainly stuff that relates to specific customizations that we can do now for various customers. So we've fine-tuned what is displayed in the public interface when you're using the absence module to make sure that we stay compliant with whatever privacy regulations are in place where you are. That could be GDPR, that could be FOIPA or FERPA in Canada or in the US. We've also added the ability to add tagged calendars both to the public interface and as iCalendar feeds. This is something we developed originally for Chicago College of Performing Arts, but it's also available for everybody else. We've done a lot of improvements to the workspaces functionality that I'm sure those of you using the workspaces will definitely appreciate. And we've also done a ton of bug fixes and performance enhancements in general. We'll be publishing a list of all these changes as well, which goes a little bit more into detail. But I really look forward to getting this system out to you in its newest version, and not least to get your feedback and your great ideas for the next upcoming release of ASIMUT that we'll be working on already from the day we publish this one. Thank you very much.